Have you ever wondered what it would be like to wake up in ancient Rome as someone who did the weirdest jobs? Think about it, from cleaning gladiators to removing blood. These were the folks who worked behind the scenes, the ones whose stories don't often make it into history books. But their lives were just as real, just as filled with struggles and triumphs, as the more famous figures we know about. Imagine the sounds, the smells, the sheer physicality of these jobs. There's a lot to unpack here, and it's not all glamorous. But it's all part of what made ancient Rome the fascinating place it was. And who wouldn't want to learn more about that? Tell us what ancient Roman odd jobs intrigue you most for our next deep dive into history's quirks. So, let's start our journey. First up, the gladiator cleaners. Picture this: you're in a small, dimly lit room off the main arena. The air is thick with the smell of sweat and blood, and the sounds of the crowd outside are muted but constant. You're dressed in simple, rough clothing, nothing fancy for a job like this. You have a bucket of water, some rags, and a bottle of olive oil. That's your toolkit for the day. Your job is to clean the gladiators after their fights. Not the easiest task, for sure. You start with the water, washing away the worst of the grime and blood. But it's the oil that's really important. It helps loosen the sweat and dirt that's caked into their skin and hair. It's a thankless job, but someone has to do it. And if you do it well enough, maybe you'll earn a few sesterces as a tip. But here's the thing: these gladiators are not just fighters. They're also celebrities. The crowd loves them, and they have a certain status in Roman society. So, in a way, you're not just cleaning them. You're also helping to maintain their image. You're part of the show, even if you're not out there in the arena. And that's just the gladiators. There are so many other weird jobs in ancient Rome. Like the scribes, for example. They spent their days hunched over desks, writing out endless documents. It was a skilled job, but it was also incredibly tedious. Imagine spending hours on end copying out the same text, over and over again. Your eyes would be tired, your back would ache, and your fingers would be cramped. But the scribes were also incredibly important. They were the ones who kept the empire running. Without them, there would be no records, no contracts, no official documents. The whole system would grind to a halt. So, in a way, they were the unsung heroes of the Roman world. And then there were the street performers. These were the entertainers who would set up their little shows on the streets of Rome. They did everything from juggling to singing to telling jokes. It was a risky job. You never knew when someone might get annoyed and decide to break up your act. But it was also incredibly rewarding. Because when you had a good day, you could feel the energy of the crowd, feel the excitement and the laughter. It was like being part of something bigger than yourself. But there was a dark side to all of this. Because for every performer who succeeded, there were 100 who failed. There were people who went home with empty pockets, who spent their nights hungry and cold. And it was all part of the same system, the same society. It's hard to think about, but it's an important part of understanding what life was really like in ancient Rome. But let's not forget about the removidores de sang. These were the folks who had the job of cleaning up after the gladiatorial games. Imagine the scene: the arena is covered in blood, the air is thick with the smell of death. And you're there, with your bucket and rags, trying to clean it all up. It's a brutal job, and it takes a certain kind of person to do it. But it's also a necessary job. Because without these people, the games would be even more chaotic, even more violent. So, as you can see, there's a lot to explore here. There are so many different jobs, so many different stories. And they all give us a window into what life was really like in ancient Rome. It wasn't all about the emperors and the senators. There were also the people who did the dirty work, the people who kept the system running. And their stories are just as important, just as fascinating. But there's still so much more to learn. And that's why we're going to keep exploring. We're going to keep digging into these weird jobs, these strange roles. Because every time we do, we get a little bit closer to understanding the real Rome. The Rome that was messy and complicated and full of life. The Rome that was, in so many ways, just like us. So, let's keep going. Let's keep learning. There's still so much more to discover. As we delve deeper into the peculiar professions of ancient Rome, let's take a moment to consider the aqueduct maintenance workers. These unsung heroes played a crucial role in keeping the city's water supply flowing smoothly. Imagine waking up early each morning, grabbing your tools, and heading out to the sprawling network of aqueducts that crisscross the Roman landscape. The sun hasn't even risen yet, but you're already on your way to ensure that the fountains, baths, and homes of Rome have the water they need. The aqueducts were engineering marvels, stretching for miles and bringing fresh water from distant springs and rivers into the heart of the city. But they required constant attention and upkeep. Cracks needed to be sealed, leaks repaired, and debris cleared. It was a physically demanding job, often involving long hours of labor under the hot Mediterranean sun. Yet, the satisfaction of knowing that your work directly contributed to the daily lives of thousands of Romans must have been immense. Now, let's shift our focus to another fascinating aspect of Roman society: the public bath attendants. These individuals were responsible for maintaining the cleanliness and order of the bustling bathhouses that were central to Roman social life. Picture yourself stepping into one of these grand establishments, where the air is warm and fragrant with the scent of oils and incense. The sound of splashing water and animated conversations fills the space as people come together to relax, socialize, and cleanse themselves. As a bath attendant, your duties would range from heating the water and regulating the temperature of the various pools to assisting patrons with their bathing routines. You'd need to be knowledgeable about the different types of baths, the frigidarium, tepidarium, and caldarium, and guide visitors through the proper sequence. It was a job that required both physical stamina and interpersonal skills, as you'd interact with people from all walks of life. But the bathhouses weren't just about hygiene, they were also hubs of social interaction and business. Politicians discussed matters of state, merchants negotiated deals, and friends caught up on the latest gossip. As an attendant, you'd be privy to countless conversations and secrets, making your role even more intriguing. And let's not forget the therapeutic aspect of the baths. Many Romans believed in the healing powers of water, and the attendants played a vital role in facilitating these treatments. Moving on, let's explore the world of the Roman architects and builders. These master craftsmen were responsible for designing and constructing the magnificent structures that defined the Roman landscape. From grand temples and forums to humble homes and shops, their work shaped the very fabric of the city. Imagine yourself as an architect, sketching out plans on wax tablets, calculating measurements, and overseeing the construction process. Building in ancient Rome was a complex endeavor that required a deep understanding of materials, engineering principles, and aesthetics. You'd need to consider factors such as load-bearing capacity, durability, and appeal. And let's not overlook the importance of adhering to religious and cultural norms. Many buildings served both practical and symbolic purposes, reflecting the values and beliefs of Roman society. The construction process itself was a massive undertaking, involving teams of workers, specialized tools, and intricate techniques. From laying foundations to raising walls and installing roofs, every step required precision and expertise. And once the building was complete, it would stand as a testament to your skill and vision, potentially lasting for centuries to come. But architecture in ancient Rome wasn't just about creating static structures, it was also about adapting and evolving. As the empire expanded and new ideas emerged, architects had to stay current with the latest trends and innovations. They incorporated elements from various cultures, experimented with new materials, and pushed the boundaries of design. This dynamic nature of Roman architecture added an extra layer of complexity and excitement to the profession. Lastly, let's not overlook the role of the Roman farmers and agricultural workers. While the city may have been the center of political and cultural life, it was the countryside that provided the foundation for the empire's prosperity. Imagine yourself tending to vast fields of wheat, olives, and grapes, working alongside other farmers and slaves to cultivate the land. The rhythm of rural life was dictated by the seasons, with each month bringing its own set of tasks and challenges. Spring was a time of planting and renewal, as seeds were sown and young plants nurtured. Summer brought the heat and the need for careful irrigation and pest control. Autumn was the season of harvest, when the fruits of your labor were gathered and stored. And winter was a time for rest and preparation, as you planned for the coming year and made repairs to your tools and equipment. Farming in ancient Rome was a demanding occupation that required knowledge of soil types, crop rotation, and animal husbandry. You'd need to be attuned to the natural world, observing the weather patterns and the behavior of the animals under your care. And let's not forget the importance of community in rural life. Farmers often worked together, sharing resources and supporting one another through the ups and downs of agricultural cycles. Moreover, agriculture played a crucial role in the Roman economy. The surplus produce generated by farms was used to feed the growing urban population and support the military campaigns of the empire. Trade routes connected the countryside with the cities, allowing for the exchange of goods and ideas. And the success of agriculture was closely tied to the stability and prosperity of the entire Roman society.